he said Europeans and some of the others screwed up and messed up nationalities, stole so much from Black Americans, culture, businesses, thieves, that type of thing as well. And I agree with that, right? But I just want to know your take in regards to how we as Black people should look at that nowadays, right? Well, I don't want to ask leading questions. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some repair work that needs to be done. So after I wrote the book, I developed this economic model that I call the 3 C's of economic development. And culture is actually the first one. So culture, cooperation, and coordination. And I would say culture is the one that we're missing the most of. So I wouldn't agree that we have no culture. I think we have a culture. It has been integrated in the dominant society, but we still have a unique aspect to our culture. You can look at that in, food, music, spirituality. Just go to a Black church versus a white church, and you'll start to notice differences, very stark differences immediately. But so a lot of reasons why some of the initiatives that a lot of existing Black organizations have failed have been because they missed that component, that cultural component. And we have to be very deliberate about re-educating ourselves, looking back at Africa, and also looking back at unique things that we've developed since we've been in America, and unique aspects of Black American culture, and kind of fleshing those out. Establishing our own holidays, our own rituals, our own rites of passage for young people, expectations about what it means to be a man or a woman in our culture, things like that, gender roles. And there are quite a few organizations working on those things. I don't get far down into the weeds with my work on that, my specific work on that, but I'm very interested in it. And I read a lot of books about African culture and kind of how we can start to incorporate and institutionalize these things, because, at the end of the day, maybe your family decides to celebrate Kwanzaa. That's cool. But if we don't have institutions pushing certain cultural agendas, then it's going to be too individualistic and not coordinated enough to actually make an impact, lasting impact throughout the community. So yes, I agree that's a very big challenge, and we have to be very intentional and deliberate about incorporating culture into any economic development strategy.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think there's something we have to recognize and acknowledge that, these things have happened to us, and that's why we deserve reparations, as a people.
And we also have to get over this notion of this fairy tale of Black unity. Not everybody's going to agree on certain things. So, like, there are over 45 million Black people in America. Not all of us are going to subscribe to the same cultural norms and values. So even if we have to split up into 5 different sects, so 9 million, whatever it is, I don't think we should get caught up in trying to get everybody on board. We just need critical masses, and working towards generally the same goals, independence, economic empowerment, things like that. But we're not all going to agree on everything. But if we can form organizations and, like, for lack of a better word, tribes around specific cultural values, just like Africa is a large continent with many cultures, many different languages, many different ways of doing things. There are some themes that are consistent among different African cultures that I think we can study, and Chancellor Williams outlines pretty well in The Rebirth of African Civilization and The Destruction of Black Civilization. Those books kind of outline the differences and the similarities between a lot of African cultures over about the past, 10,000 years. So, yeah, but I don't think we should get caught up in trying to get everybody on board and everything, because there's certain people that I'm just never going to agree with,
Right. And I also think, let's moving forward, acknowledge that those things happen, right? Happen to us.
Right.
And
Reparations is very important to me as well. Like,
yeah,
I'm working on things that can happen independent of whether or not we get reparations, but we definitely need them, and we definitely need to be working on them, because
yeah. And
$70 gap is not going to close itself.
Yeah, no, man, I 100% agree, on that particular front. But then, let's say they don't come, how do we still win? that's always the question I'm always asking myself is, how do we still win as a people, given the resources and tools that we have now? And
Right.
what are the best strategies and the best campaigns that we need to fight to make sure that we can not even the playing ground, excel, in life and excel as a group of people.
Well, we gotta define what winning means to us.
Right.
Not a lot of people will agree on that.
Well, what's your definition of winning?
So sovereignty is my definition of winning. So if we do not have sovereignty, we have not reached where I think we should be, where I'm trying to take us. Sovereignty meaning the control of our economic, political, social, cultural destiny without interference, or being able to defend ourselves from interference. So you have sovereign nations that are, quote unquote sovereign, but other more powerful nations interfere with their sovereignty and interfere with their internal systems all the time. For example, the United States and our regime change wars. So sovereignty to me means that we develop our own sovereign nations and the ability to defend them without, resist outside influence. Now that's going to be difficult for, Black people in America, because as long as we're in America, then we'll never have true sovereignty. But I have a solution for that we can talk about at another time. But we have to look towards sovereign nations for support and develop relations, so like economic relations, political relations with Black nations, like say in Africa and the Caribbean, things like that, in lieu of our own sovereignty on American soil. But there are things that we can do here to become more self-determining, more independent while we're here. Because I'm not an advocate of everybody, moving back to Africa or anything like that. I'm going to personally, but I think that first of all, it's not realistic for everybody to do that, and then I don't think everybody should. Some of you people need to stay here.
Yeah, man. I guess Jewish people is very similar. Not everyone moved back to Israel. Moved to Israel. You have Jewish communities all over the place.
Right.
I know a lot of them are going through strife right now, internal struggle between Jewish Americans and also people who actually live in Israel over what's going on with Palestine, that type of thing. So it seems to me the cultures are, even though they have the common bond, the cultural concerns and just the realities on the ground are causing a divide in terms of how those should be handled as well, depending on where you're located. And we can talk about that at a later point in time as that relates to Black people too.
Yeah, we have similar issues between
right
Black Americans and Caribbeans and Africans in Africa, things like that. But